Our journey begins in the bustling financial districts of 17th century Europe, where the creation of the stock market changed the game. The heart of Europe was throbbing with a new kind of energy, a financial revolution that was about to change the world. This was the age of the stock market, a novel concept that transformed the economic fabric of society and laid the groundwork for a new era of exploration and expansion. The Dutch East India Company was the pioneer of this revolution, becoming the first publicly traded company in history. Imagine the scene: traders and investors huddled in the bustling marketplaces of Amsterdam, buying and selling shares of this new entity. This was a turning point, a moment that shifted the tides of economic power. This new financial instrument allowed the company to amass capital from a wide range of investors. This capital, in turn, funded ambitious voyages to the East Indies, journeys that were fraught with peril but promised untold riches. The allure of precious spices, sumptuous silks, and a treasure trove of other commodities beckoned these daring explorers, fueled by the capital raised from their shares. The promise of high returns on these investments sparked a frenzy. More and more voyages were launched, each one pushing the boundaries of the known world, each one expanding the reach of European powers. This was more than exploration. This was the dawn of a new era, an era of colonization that would reshape the world. The stock market became the lifeblood of this era. It was the conduit that channeled capital from investors to explorers, the engine that powered the ships sailing into the unknown. The infusion of capital from the stock market wasn't just a financial innovation, it was a catalyst, igniting the spark for an era of exploration and colonization. As we journey further into the heart of this era, we'll see how this financial revolution was just the beginning. The stock market, with its promise of wealth and power, lit the fuse. But it was the ensuing developments in insurance, industry, and military might that fanned the flames into a roaring fire. This infusion of capital from the stock market ignited the spark for an era of exploration and colonization. With high risk came the need for protection, and thus the concept of insurance was born. As European nations embarked on perilous journeys across the uncharted oceans, the threat of loss loomed large. Ships could be lost to the caprices of weather, fall prey to pirates, or simply never return from their voyages. Such losses could wipe out the investments of those who had banked on the success of these voyages. To mitigate these risks, the concept of marine insurance emerged. This was a game changer. Under the banner of marine insurance, the risks associated with maritime voyages were pooled together. This meant that the potential losses were spread across many investors, reducing the impact on any single one. This was a safety net, a buffer against the unknown perils of the high seas. The impact of this new financial safeguard was profound. By reducing the potential losses, marine insurance made it less daunting for investors to fund these risky voyages. This led to an increase in the number of expeditions, as the promise of profits was now accompanied by a measure of protection against losses. But the influence of insurance extended beyond just encouraging more voyages. It played a significant role in shaping the global trade networks that we see today. As more and more voyages were undertaken, trade routes expanded and became more secure. Goods from far-off lands found their way to European markets, and European goods reached distant shores. This was more than just an exchange of goods, it was an intertwining of destinies. The fate of far-off lands became tied to the economic interests of European nations. The success of a voyage could bring prosperity to a European city, while its failure could spell disaster for a distant colony. Thus, insurance played a crucial role in weaving the fates of far-off lands with European economic interests. It was an essential cog in the machinery of colonization, a tool that helped European nations navigate the treacherous waters of the high-risk, high-reward world of colonial expeditions. The Industrial Revolution was the catalyst that supercharged European ambitions. This epoch-defining period, stretching from the mid-18th to the mid-19th century, saw a flurry of technological innovations and advancements that revolutionized production processes and dramatically altered the socio-economic and cultural conditions of the time. Among the many innovations of this era, the steam engine stands out as a game-changer. Invented by James Watt, this marvel of engineering provided a reliable and powerful source of energy that was not dependent on the whims of weather or the availability of water sources. It powered factories, locomotives, and ships, bringing about a sea change in the way goods were produced and transported. Alongside the steam engine, significant advancements in metallurgy occurred, notably the development of more efficient methods for producing iron and steel. These materials were vital for building the machinery and infrastructure that underpinned the Industrial Revolution. The ability to produce high-quality iron and steel in large quantities gave European powers a distinct advantage, both in terms of their industrial output and their military capabilities. This surge in production capacity was instrumental in the expansion of European colonies. With the ability to mass-produce goods, armaments, and ships, the European powers could equip their armies and navies more effectively, enabling them to subdue native populations and establish colonies in far-off lands. Moreover, the steam-powered ships could travel faster and farther irrespective of wind conditions. This meant that the European powers could maintain regular contact with their colonies, ensuring a steady flow of resources back to the motherland. These resources, in turn, were used to feed the industrial machines back home, creating a vicious cycle of extraction and exploitation. But it wasn't just about extraction. The Industrial Revolution also led to a dramatic increase in the demand for raw materials. Cotton, for instance, was needed in vast quantities to feed the textile mills of England. This demand drove the expansion of cotton cultivation in the American South, leading to a deepening of the institution of slavery. Thus, the Industrial Revolution had a profound impact on the process of colonization. It provided the European powers with the means to establish and maintain their colonies, often through force and coercion. It also created a global system of trade and commerce, where the colonies served as sources of raw materials and markets for the finished goods produced in the factories of Europe. In summary, the Industrial Revolution was a key driver of European colonization. It provided the technological and material means for the European powers to extend their reach, subdue native populations, and extract valuable resources. The Industrial Revolution provided European colonizers with the means to establish and maintain their colonies. The role of military power in colonization cannot be understated. As we delve into the final chapter of our journey, we turn our focus to the formidable military might of the European powers. This might, fueled by the economic resources generated from trade, industry, and finance, was a key driving force behind their colonial ambitions. Picture this: the bustling financial districts of Europe, the heart of the stock markets, pumping vast amounts of capital into the veins of military forces. The funds raised from investors didn't just finance risky voyages to distant lands, they also went into building powerful armies and navies. This military buildup, in turn, played a crucial role in the expansion of European influence across the globe. The military forces didn't just serve as a deterrent to potential adversaries, they were the iron fist that protected the intricate web of trade routes spanning the globe. They ensured the safe passage of ships laden with spices, silks, and other valuable commodities from the colonies to the markets of Europe. But their role extended beyond mere protection. These military forces were also the vanguard of the European colonial expansion. They were the ones who first set foot on uncharted lands, who established the initial contact with native populations, often through a show of force. The establishment of colonies, however, was only the first step. Maintaining control over these colonies, ensuring a steady flow of resources, required a continuous military presence. The European powers often had to resort to force to quell rebellions and maintain their hold over the colonies. This continuous cycle of expansion and control, powered by the military might, created a self-sustaining economic machine. The colonies provided the resources that fueled the industries back in Europe. The profits from these industries, in turn, financed the military forces that protected and expanded the colonies. This interplay between economic forces and military power created a potent mix that propelled the European powers into an era of colonization. It was a period marked by exploration, conquest, and yes, exploitation. The formidable European armies and navies were the iron fist that ensured the smooth operation of the economic machine of colonization. They were the custodians of the trade routes, the enforcers of control over the colonies, and ultimately, the guarantors of the steady flow of resources that sustained the European economies. As we wrap up our journey through this fascinating period of history, Let's take a moment to reflect on the profound impact these economic forces had on the world. The echoes of these forces, the intertwined destinies they shaped, can still be felt in our modern world. In the end, the story of colonization is not just a tale of exploration and conquest. It's also a story of economic ingenuity, of the complex interplay between power, profit, and progress.